You know, when we talk about the potential of winning the league, and this is me extending to Nottingham Forest the same courtesy that I extended to my own team, Chelsea. You have to be able to win it. I have to be able to envisage it. For me to say, are you title contenders? I have to be able to see a world where Murillo lifts the league title as head in hands happens at both the Emirates and Anfield.
Did you see Leicester winning the title in 2015?
Yes, but you flagging, I think it's a good example for you to use, but it's an anomaly. No, but yeah, absolutely.
But anomalies happen in football, Rory.
They do, but I can't envisage it. I could never envisage Mahrez lifting the league title with Leicester.
Because you can't envisage it, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be seen as contenders.
No, it doesn't. And I'm sure that the broader public, the broader football-loving public, may side with you and say, yeah, they are contenders. But because I can't process it, for the record, I want it to happen. Of course I want Forest to win the league over Liverpool and Arsenal. Of course I do. I just find it, my brain can't compute it. Like, I didn't think a treble were possible until Manchester United did it. I don't think Chelsea conceding 15 goals were possible. I didn't think that an invincible season was possible. I didn't think a Centurion season was possible. Equally, I don't think a season where Nottingham Forest win the league. If they do, I think on some level you could argue, you know how unpredictable Leicester was, and what Leicester did was truly magnificent. It was, in my opinion, the best sporting achievement that has happened, like transcends football. The best sporting achievement ever was what Leicester, Claudio Ranieri achieved. If Nottingham Forest do it, however, I think there is an argument to suggest that it's even bigger, primarily because, I mean, Leicester pipped Tottenham to a league.
Yeah.
You're potentially going to pip Arsenal and Liverpool to a league title. And if you do that, I want it to happen. I will take my hat off, but I can't envisage it.
Let me try and convince you.
Tell me. I mean, Duke, I want to be convinced.
Liverpool are arguably, at the minute, the best team in Europe. In 2 games, Forest have taken 4 points off them. I would argue, and you can come back at me, I would argue right now on form, Forest have the best goalkeeper in the league.
Yeah.
I would argue they've got the best centre-back pairing in the league. I would argue that our right-back, Ola Aina, who we got on a free, is the best right-back in the league. I look at Nico Williams as one of the most improved players of the season. I believe he had Mo Salah for large portions of the game in his pocket. And there are lots of people, the arguments that people try to use to dismiss Forest as a title contender are that, A, they'll be found out. Well, we're over halfway through the season now, and that hasn't been the case, and we're still improving. And I think there's this lazy misconception in football. I think we've been duped, we've been deluded a little bit that possession automatically means you are good at football. What Nuno has done is proved that tippy-tappy football does not necessarily get you results. Forest have the lowest average possession, 39.9% this season. There is a glitch in the Premier League matrix this season, Rory. You look at Manchester United, you look at the likes of Man City, even, Aston Villa sort of falling behind. Yeah. And if there is a season for Forest to do it, it's this season. And I think that we have struck the fear of God into many Premier League sides. And I'm not saying we're going to do it. I'm just saying that we're there.
Mate, I love it. Listen, I feel like when Mel Gibson gave that speech at Braveheart, right? And everybody got. I feel like that. You've done something to me. I want you to be right, and I want to believe that it can happen. My one sticking point, right? And I think that this stuff means so much. You know when Man City pipped Arsenal to the league 2 seasons running?
Yeah.
Do you know why they did that? It's because of the nous. It's of being Premier League winners. It's because of the know-how. It's because of the understanding of what it takes to get over the line. There is an art form to winning titles. That's why Jose Mourinho was so good at it, and that's why other managers have struggled, because it really is a very specific skill. I want you to do it, but do you believe that there's any that when there's say you're a point behind with 5 to go, 5 games to go, and you're a point behind Liverpool, something like that? Can you honestly see a world where a must-win game? You know how Keegan's team basically capitulated. They should have got over the line. They were 10 points clear.
I'd love it if we beat them.
Exactly. Yeah. Do you think that Callum Hudson-Odoi, who is very raw, brilliant player, wonderful footballer, I wish he was running the wing for Chelsea instead of all. Ola Reina should be playing for Chelsea. I've got no idea why he isn't.
Yeah. Look, this is what I'd say about this, and I think that this should resonate with you. The way I hear you talk about your club and the way I hear you talk about Chelsea. I'm a Nottingham Forest fan. I am brought up on the stories of the great footballing miracles of Brian Clough, and that runs through our blood. And I know that it might sound a bit romantic. I don't care if you don't like that. That is me as a football fan. I'm a romantic. And so if we were 1 point behind with 5 games to go, I'd be worried about Liverpool messing up, because there would be this surge of sort of emotion at the City Ground. I've never seen anything like it at the City Ground on Tuesday night, and it was only a draw, Rory. There was this sort of surge of a generation of Forest fans who've only heard secondhand about how good it is to be up there. And we're all realising, as Mull of Kintyre is sort of, it's been sung by the fans, we're realising now we're actually experiencing this. We're not remembering this. And so I really believe, I understand your point about experience. I understand your point about nous. Nuno has them organised down to a T. That was an elite level team for performance on Tuesday night. But also I think the magic's in our favour, Rory, because I think that it is one of those stories, and I think that Brian Clough turns in his grave when people like yourself say that what Leicester achieved was the best achievement in football. Because what did Forest do? We came from mid-table obscurity in Division 1. Then we went up in 1978. We won the League One or Division 1 in 78. Then the European Cup in 79. Then back-to-back in 1980. Yeah. I think that, of course, it's different eras, but what Brian Clough did cannot be matched. No,
there's something. Do you know what? There's some poetry here. Actually, there's some symmetry, because Liverpool won the league in 80. Like, you know, the year that you won the they won the league. You won the European Cup. Yeah. There's some symmetry here, and there is something brilliant about Forest, something historic, something truly like this pedigree. Forest and Liverpool going for it head to head. There's something there. Look, you're bringing me in here.
And you talk about pedigree. That's why I don't worry too much about the nous, because what does Forest do? Even when we were in League One, we inculcate every single player that comes into this football club. We show them who we really are. And now the sort of disparity between who we are and who we were is getting closer and closer and closer. It's like growing into a pair of shoes. It's growing into your granddad's old suit, and now it's starting to fit right, and now you're walking with a little bit of swagger. Forest have got that. And I just look, I'm not sitting here saying we're going to win the league. I'm not deluded like that.
You've got some beautiful fixtures coming up. Do you know what? We're going to know him. We're going to know him in about 5 games. Because as much as these fixtures are a gift, as much as you have to win these fixtures, I think you will win these fixtures. If you don't, there's no more conversation around this.
And not to throw shade on our colleagues at talkSPORT that are Arsenal fans, but based on what you're about to say, I think this is where maybe Arsenal would have lost the league in previous seasons.
You play Southampton and Bournemouth. Southampton, Bournemouth, Brighton. Now, those fixtures need to be won if you are going to win the league. They don't necessarily all need to be won if you're going to make it into Europe, and they certainly don't need to be won if you were trying to achieve what your expectations were before a ball had been kicked this season. But if you are genuinely going to win the league, I think you need 9 points out of those games.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you. But look, we've won 7 out of the last 8 games. We haven't lost in 8 games. And I'm not the only person.
If you go to Bournemouth and win, that's a bit of a statement. It's been a tricky ground for people.
And they're a tricky club for us. Now, I can see you slowly coming over to my side, Rory.
I want to be wooed.
One person I don't need to convince of is Jim White. He reckons...
He had a bet, didn't he?
He put his money... So let's listen to this. Yeah. He and Simon Jordan have a little back and forth, and Jim is putting his money where his mouth is.
I'll bet you a certain amount of money, and whoever gets the win goes to some particular charity.
Yeah, but you can't have a split bet.
All right.
It's an outside bet.
Well, you getting involved in, are you? Or you keeping your hand firmly in your pocket?
Yeah,
well, Danny's got a house move on. And
that's true.
And I've got a dodgy washing machine. But what are we talking about? Are we talking about double digits? I mean, 50 quid or something like that?
100 quid.
100 quid?
100 quid.
Nottingham Forest players, Mr. Marinakis, if you're listening this morning, I'm risking 100 Scottish pounds against Simon Templar's £100. I say Nottingham Forest will win the Premier League. And Mr. Templar is saying, a.k.a. Simon Jordan, is saying Liverpool, presumably.
I'm saying Nottingham Forest won't win the league.
We love that from Jim White. Give him the keys to the city, Marinakis. Give him the keys to the club. What do you reckon to that?
I love it. I want it to happen, but I just think that Simon Jordan spoke there and he sounded very confident in his prediction that Forest won't win the league, didn't he? But I think what you are doing is exactly what you should be doing. Yeah. You're clinging onto the legend of your club. You're clinging onto the history of your club. You're believing in the
back onto the club,
and you're believing in the project and the players that you have currently seen playing to a level that I think most didn't predict this season.
Can I just say as well? You know, I have since Forest have been in the Premier League, I at times have certainly been very critical of Evangelos Marinakis and the ownership in previous seasons. When I looked at the initial transfer spending spree, I looked at the points deduction and the mismanagement. With regards to Brennan Johnson, I understand that why he didn't want to sell him so soon, because he wanted a better price for him. But I have to say that what Marinakis is doing at the club, and the way, the sharp focus, the sharp thinking in terms of transfer strategy and getting the right people in the right place, I don't I'm not rolling back on my words. I stand by what I said at the time. But I think at the minute he has got the club in the palm of his hand, in the right place, with the right people in the right positions. And it's just an incredibly exciting time to be a Forest fan, and how great to support.
Mate, I'm on board. You've done it.
Has that culture.
You've done it. You have pulled me in. I started off by saying that Forest are not in contention to win the league. And I'm now saying that Forest are in contention to win the league. And if Chelsea don't win the league, Max, I hope you do it.
I think arguably this is an even greater miracle than Forest winning the league, that I have managed to convince Rory Jennings out of his convictions. Well, we've been talking about my beloved Forest.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.